In the celestial realm, the goddess Lady Ameth, who is currently working on fixing her condition, assigns an elf named Kokoro to guide a boy named Yuki. After completely losing his memory, Yuki falls from the sky into the fantasy world below. Kokoro arrives at the spot where he lands, expecting a grand meeting with her new master. Instead, she finds Yuki unconscious on the ground, being dragged away by a pack of hungry wolves. After staring for a moment, the wolves flee, and Kokoro saves him. When Yuki wakes up, he's confused. Kokoro introduces herself and explains her divine mission to protect him. To restore his health, she gives him a fresh onigiri. The moment is short-lived as the wolves return. Kokoro draws her weapon and suggests this will be the perfect training to awaken Yuki's hidden powers. Armed with a sword, Yuki steps forward, but is immediately knocked down and dragged away by an attacking wolf. Kokoro chases after them and saves him again. Trying to hide his incompetence, the dizzy Yuki shows off the muscles in his arm to prove he's fine, but he collapses again. Elsewhere, by a mountain lake, an orange-haired girl washes her face when a scream stops her. She finds two men, one fat and one skinny, with the skinny one begging her to fetch medicine from a distant tree for his dying brother. She trusts them and runs off to help. As soon as she's gone, the two thieves laugh and steal all her belongings, including a precious sword her parents gave her. Meanwhile, Yuki and Kokoro arrive in the capital city of Landasol. As they walk the streets, Kokoro explains the world's various races, including humans, beastmen, demons, and elves. Yuki wanders off and gets distracted by a food stall. The vendor assumes they're a couple, which makes Kokoro nervous, but Yuki only cares about food. When Kokoro hands him coins to pay, clueless Yuki tries to eat them. Kokoro explains how currency works, and on his second attempt, he pays successfully. As night falls, they realize they have no money for lodging. Kokoro considers selling her magical staff, a gift from her father, to afford lodging. Yuki firmly stops her. Accepting their fate, they start a small fire and sleep outside. Their rest is soon disturbed when the wolves attack again, dragging the half-asleep Yuki across the ground until Kokoro intervenes once more. The next morning, a panicked Kokoro hands Yuki her remaining coin pouch. Moved by her dedication, Yuki hugs her and says he also wants to work. They head to the local guild, where they meet Karen. Due to their low level, Karen suggests a beginner task of gathering mushrooms near ancient ruins instead of hunting monsters. In the forest, the orange-haired girl is still searching for the thieves, convinced they need medicine. She finally spots them in a panic. When the two brothers see her, they flee into a dangerous part of the forest. Their escape is abruptly halted when a terrifying magical threat appears before them. Meanwhile, Yuki and Kokoro arrive at the ruins to collect mushrooms. During their search, Kokoro discovers a strange small mushroom that makes a noise, and she names it Putiko. A while later, Yuki encounters the orange-haired girl collapsed from hunger and exhaustion. They share their gathered food with her. After recovering, she introduces herself with a very long name, but Kokoro simply calls her Pecarine. Their brief peace is shattered when magically transformed giant mushrooms attack them. They attempt to fight back, but the mushrooms overwhelm them, and one monster captures Kokoro. Seeing his friends in danger, Yuki steps forward and wields his sword. This action awakens a hidden power within him, releasing a light that surrounds Kokoro and Pecarine. This magic multiplies both girls' strength, allowing them to defeat the giant mushrooms. As they gather the slain giant mushrooms as food, the small Putiko reveals itself to be a parasitic mushroom that sucks the nutrition out of humans. It leaps to attack Pecarine, but she catches it midair and pops it into her mouth. The effect of eating it is strange, and it acts like alcohol. Pecarine immediately gets dizzy and passes out drunk. Yuki silently carries the sleeping girl on his back, and the three of them head back to Landasol with their gathered mushrooms. The next morning, Kokoro finds Yuki training with his sword. She prepares breakfast using the fungi they gathered the day before. While eating, they discuss their rapidly depleting funds and the need for a permanent residence, and think about their new acquaintance, Pecarine. Later, at a local inn, a man overhears their conversation and offers Kokoro a job as a guide, promising to provide them with a house to use as a base. However, the restaurant owner quickly chases the man away to restore order. Meanwhile, the two thieves who stole Pecarine's sword wake up startled by the cawing of crows. Despite still being disoriented from the previous day's terrifying ordeal, they immediately begin plotting to sell the stolen crystal sword. In Landasol, Yuki and Kokoro spot a local eating contest and are surprised to see Pecarine participating. She wins the contest with ease. Suddenly, she spots the two thieves in the crowd. Still assuming they need the medicine they previously requested, she immediately chases after them, completely forgetting about her reward money. Yuki and Kokoro quickly follow her. Their pursuit is abruptly halted by a large wild boar monster. The three of them are unaware that a mysterious cat girl named Carol is watching them from a distance, and she is the magical reason for the monster's appearance. Stepping into to protect the town, Pecarine defeats the large beast with a single punch. The boar flies to the air and crashes directly into Carol's hiding spot, causing her to lose consciousness. Feeling responsible, the group waits for her to wake up. When she regains consciousness, Pecarine apologizes and offers her some freshly cooked food. Since the food is still very hot, Carol becomes angry, rejects the offer, and storms off. As she climbs a tree branch to plan her revenge against Pecarine, she spots the two thieves below with the stolen crystal sword just as a black dragon appears. Kokoro remembers the local innkeeper mentioning a dragon that lives in a nearby valley, attracted to rare items. Seeing this as an opportunity, Carol approaches the trio. Pretending to help, she leads them to the dragon's cave. They see the massive beast with the crystal sword in its mouth. Yuki devises a plan. He will distract the monster, while Kokoro provides magical support and Pecarine attacks. The plan immediately fails when the dragon catches Yuki in its mouth, where the sword also rests. Trusting Kokoro's magic to keep him safe, Yuki remains calm. Pecarine leaps onto the dragon and heads for its head to save her friend and reclaim her parents' sword. Seeing her chance, Carol casts a spell to control the dragon, forcing it into wild flight to knock Pecarine off. Pecarine loses her balance but barely hangs on by grabbing the thick hair of one of the thieves. As Carol intensifies her magic, the dragon thrashes violently. Pecarine finally slips and falls, accidentally tearing out the thief's mid-back hair in the process. Amid the chaos, Yuki takes action from inside the dragon's mouth, using his cloak to cover its eyes. Blinded and losing balance, the beast's wild flight brings it crashing down near Carol. She seizes the moment and lands a punch that sends the monster to the ground, using its body to cushion her fall. The impact lands dangerously close to Carol, breaking the mind-controlling spell immediately. Now furious and acting on its own will, the dragon targets Carol and attacks. Pecarine moves in, successfully reclaiming her shining crystal sword during the fall. With one strike, she easily slices the dragon in half, saving everyone and earning a large treasure of gold. The frightened thief brothers, grateful to be alive, thank Pecarine for saving their lives. As the sun sets and the sky turns orange, Pecarine bids the thieves farewell and invites Carol to join her, Yuki, and Kokoro for a simple meal of leftover rice balls. During the meal, knowing that Yuki and Kokoro need steady work, Pecarine suggests forming a gourmet guild together. Carol admits the food is delicious and believes Pecarine has no hidden weaknesses, just a passion for eating. Despite feeling upset over hating them for nothing, Carol maintains her tough facade, declines the invitation, and leaves for her tasks. The day ends peacefully with Pecarine happily walking the streets of Landasol, eating more. Kokoro visits the guild association, but decides to just pick up application forms for now. While waiting outside, Yuki notices a small, tired girl weakly falling. Remembering the moment he first met Pecarine, he places a rice ball near her and walks away. Little does he know this act might be a mistake, as a mysterious figure watches from the shadows. Kokoro returns, and they set out to find Pecarine. On the way, they spot Carol spying outside a restaurant, trying to learn Pecarine's weaknesses. Hearing the growls of hunger from her stomach, Yuki and Kokoro invite the cat girl inside. Her hunger quickly overpowers her initial refusal, and she joins them. Inside, Pecarine happily orders more food. Nearby, the thief brothers lie in a food coma amid empty plates from overeating. Pecarine joyfully invites her new friends to join them and hands Carol a menu. Carol pretends not to care, feigning annoyance. However, the owner announces that all common ingredients have run out because their food enthusiast has eaten everything. Hearing about a secret menu, Pecarine orders that instead. When the plates arrive, Carol turns pale upon realizing the food is entirely made of insects. Calmly, Kokoro takes the first bite. Thinking Yuki must eat on time, she feeds him. Taking advantage of Carol's fear, Pecarine shoves a piece of insect food into the cat girl's mouth. Although the initial shock nearly knocks her out, Carol is surprised to find the taste delicious and eventually joins the meal. During tea afterward, Kokoro quietly pulls out the guild application form. Pecarine excitedly hugs her, thrilled by the idea. In contrast, Carol maintains her emotional distance, thanks them for the food, and leaves. Outside, Carol scolds herself for enjoying a meal with her target instead of completing her mission. To distract herself, she plucks a sour tamarind fruit from a nearby tree and feels its sour taste will pair perfectly with the insect food. Suddenly, an old acquaintance emerges from the shadows, asking if Carol's getting too comfortable and reminding her that the mission is still incomplete. Carol tries to ignore them, but the silent pressure remains overwhelming. The next day, Pecarine happily announces that the owner offered her a job because of her talent for handling the secret menu. Excited to earn money to satisfy her hunger, she immediately gets to work. Seeing her her friends busy, Kokoro sadly hides the application form behind her back. As Yuki and Kokoro sit down to eat in the restaurant, Pecarine's cheerful nature quickly wins over all the customers. Meanwhile, Carol paces outside, thinking. Her master has changed her orders, instructing her to keep watching Pecarine instead of killing her for now. Wanting to comply, she enters through the door just as Pecarine serves food to 3 little girls. Carol immediately scolds her. Seizing the opportunity, Kokoro approaches Carol with the application form, but Carol quickly interrupts, sensing her anxiety. As Carol clears her throat to ask about joining the guild herself, a large, arrogant man enters. Sent by a rival to ruin the restaurant's reputation, the man shoves other customers, insults them, and demands insect food. When the owner intervenes to restore order, the man forcefully knocks him down and easily breaks his arm. Stepping up to defend the restaurant, Pecarine heads to the kitchen. Trusting her ability to recreate any dish perfectly after a single taste, she prepares the secret insect food flawlessly, despite never having cooked it before. When she serves it, the man prepares to criticize. However, Carol steps forward and instructs him to wait. Remembering her discovery from the previous night, she squeezes sour tamarind juice onto the food. It immediately begins to shine. Unable to resist, the man takes a bite and finds the taste incredibly delicious. Overwhelmed by the flavor, he loudly declares the food to be exquisite. Realizing he has broken his tough guy facade, he tries to save his mission by throwing the plate on the floor and threatening to shut down the restaurant. Angered by the waste of good food, Yuki firmly grabs the man's arm and makes it clear that his behavior will not be tolerated. Pecarine then easily grabs the large man and forcefully throws him out of the restaurant. After the chaos settles, Carol musters the courage and declares her official membership in the guild. With all 4 members present, the team is complete. They establish their gourmet guild with a simple but meaningful purpose: to explore the world, research all types of food and ingredients, and enjoy every meal together. Excited to have a base, the group heads to the house they have been given. From the outside, it looks like a large mansion, but inside, their excitement quickly turns to disappointment. The house has been abandoned for years, covered in dust, infested with insects and snakes, and gives off a spooky vibe. After everyone starts complaining, Carol awkwardly assures them the only danger might be rumors of a ghost. Kokoro optimistically states that having a roof over their heads is already a blessing. The group decides to make the place livable, and they begin sweeping, scrubbing, and throwing out trash. During the cleaning, they notice a significant problem. They lack a dining table. Since the entire purpose of the guild is to eat together, they decide the table should be special and head outside to get wood. Meanwhile, Kokoro heads out to purchase supplies, carefully budgeting the leftover money from the dragon job. At the market, she meets another guild leader, Shinobu, who welcomes her and gives her a plate. She also meets Taran, the manager of the Serendia orphanage, who assists Kokoro with shopping. To help carry the heavy items home, Taran sends her maid, Suzume, with a donkey cart to accompany Kokoro. On the way, Suzume explains that Taran was once the vice captain of the Royal Knights, but left the prestigious position to care for orphans, a story that surprises and impresses Kokoro. However, the journey takes a turn when Kokoro and Suzume completely lose their way and end up in a secluded, dark forest surrounded by glowing red eyes. A sudden flying bat startles Suzume, causing their donkey to panic and run into the forest. In the chaos, Suzume trips and falls. Distressed, Kokoro tries to throw a trap over the bushes to catch an animal to pull the cart. Surprisingly, she catches a talking creature from Elizabeth Park Farm. The creature takes offense at being called an animal or donkey. Despite the odd appearance, it is incredibly strong, accustomed to heavy farm labor, and happily agrees to pull the cart. Back at the guild house, Carol scrubs the rooms clean, ensuring they are free of insects, snakes, and ghosts. She stacks chairs to support Yuki while he climbs to clean a high window. As he works, Carol advises him not to rely too much on others despite his memory loss. Yuki agrees, though Carol senses he is not taking her seriously. Suddenly, an insect crawls onto Carol's leg. Startled, she jumps and knocks over the chairs. Yuki falls hard, hits his head, and loses consciousness. In his unconscious state, Yuki finds himself in a dreamlike place where he encounters the goddess Ameth once again. Since he is not ready for the full truth, she only gives him a brief hint about the situation. Ameth creates a magical shield to send him back to reality, promising to return and help once his bond with the girls grows stronger. Yuki wakes up to Carol's worried eyes. Remembering Ameth's message, especially the part related to Carol's complicated situation, he gestures to assure her he is fine and feels ready to face the upcoming challenges. Outside, Inside, the new dining table is finally finished. Carl admits it is impressive. Unfortunately, they realize the large table is too big to fit through the door, so they have to keep adjusting it for a while. Meanwhile, in the forest, Kokoro, Suzume, and the strange helper are attacked by a group of thieves. The thieves ignore the humans and try to capture the creature to sell it to a circus, repeatedly calling it a donkey. Offended by their assumptions, the creature draws a sword and easily defeats the thieves. Hungry from the fight, it pulls out a special apple and takes a bite. To Kokoro and Suzume's amazement, the creature magically transforms into a beautiful human girl. As the day ends, Suzume helps the transformed girl return to her master. Kokoro returns to the guild house just as the others finally manage to bring the table inside. Seeing the house clean, shiny, and properly decorated, Kokoro smiles with satisfaction. The four friends relax and enjoy dinner together, celebrating the successful start of their new life. The next day, Yuki catches a terrible cold. Carol blames it on his habit of sleeping with wet hair. The girls try their best to cure it in their own ways. Pecarine makes him very hot porridge, claiming it will cure his cold, but after forcing him to eat just one spoonful, Yuki's condition worsens. Carol checks his forehead and steps back, shocked to see he has a high fever. She scolds Pecarine, saying he needs proper rest, not just food. Meanwhile, Kokoro prepares an old village remedy involving burning insects to pray to Ameth. When Pecarine tries to throw the insects directly into the porridge, Carol stops her and explains that insects are not the solution to every problem. Only Carol speaks wisely and decides that before their treatment causes him more harm, he should visit a real hospital. Using a map, they wander into the strange town until they find a place resembling a clinic. However, the staff inside is very strange, wearing clothes like wizards instead of medical staff. The receptionist's face looks like a witch, and she wears an unusual combination of a doctor's and nurse's uniform, though she seems serious about her job. The doctor tells Yuki to remove his shirt for examination. After lifting his arm and seeing a strange rash, she immediately schedules surgery. The girls can only wait silently as Yuki is taken away. Inside the operating room, Yuki's hands and feet are tied to the table, and he waits for a strange magical treatment. Outside, Kokoro panics so much that she screams, and Carol scolds her for always getting scared. Their worry increases when a terrifying loud noise comes from the room. Suddenly, a thin, frightened man runs past them, complaining about getting stuck. Recognizing him, the girls realize he is the same arrogant, fat man who had previously insulted their insect food, and he has now become very thin. Afraid of the sound coming from the room, he continues his attempt to flee, believing the clinic is a prison. The girls are completely unaware of the bloodied handprints on the walls and remain confused about the situation. Their confusion turns to fear when a girl with an axe emerges from the back alley, dragging the unconscious, now thin man back to his room. When Carol asks about Yuki's condition, the nurse casually mentions that his family will be taking him home today, causing Kokoro to faint on the spot. Disturbed by these strange events, Pecarine suggests they eat something to avoid fainting as well, and the three of them return home, as they are not allowed to visit Yuki after the surgery. The most oblivious one is the axe-wielding girl, Eriko. Eriko had visited a fortune-telling tent where the spirit in the skull had invited her for tea. Angered, she struck the skull with her sword to teach it a lesson, and the frightened spirit obediently told her fortune. Eriko had been looking for Yuki ever since he gave her a rice ball, and she believes he is her soulmate. As she passes by the operating room and hears someone gasping for air, she enters to see Yuki struggling. When he opens his eyes, he finds Eriko staring at him intently with her red eyes. She refuses to leave his side, frightening the boy. The next morning, the girls wake up very worried about the hospital. After breakfast, they return to see Yuki. When they arrive, they find an angry mob outside, accusing the hospital of taking everything from them. The nurse, Nanaka, tries to shoo them away, but the crowd grows angrier and demands to know if a thief is inside. Suddenly, Eriko appears on the second-floor balcony, and the gleam of her axe silences the crowd. She jumps down and attacks the mob. Nanaka also joins the fight, and then the doctor, Mitsuki, arrives, throwing down leaves of poisonous flowers that knock everyone out. The girls realize in shock that this is the Twilight Caravan, a world-famous and terrifying guild. Eriko the Destroyer, Nanaka the Collector, and Dr. Mitsuki, the One-Eyed Devil. Realizing they need to save Yuki immediately, the girls sneak into the hospital while the doctor is busy outside. They reach Yuki's room and panic when they see him tied to a chair, while Eriko is trying to force a magical engagement ring onto his finger to bind them forever. Carol quickly comes up with a plan. Using Kokoro's skills, she burns insects in another room to fill the hospital with smelly purple smoke. When Eriko steps out to investigate the smoke, Pecarine and Carol enter the room and rescue Yuki. However, when they try to get out, they find themselves stuck on the stairs, where Eriko is coming from above and Mitsuki from below. Thinking quickly, Carol pretends to have severe stomach pain to stop Mitsuki, who is completely unaware that the strange doctor was eagerly waiting waiting to experiment on a female patient. Her act buys enough time for Yuki to be thrown out of the second-floor window to safety. Afterward, Yuki is taken to a regular clinic. The ordinary doctor tells them that Yuki only has a common cold, and his skin irritation was misdiagnosed. However, when he examines Yuki's previous treatment, he admits it was done very skillfully. When the girls mention Dr. Mitsuki, the ordinary doctor confirms that despite being scary and strange, she is indeed capable and trustworthy. Relieved by this news, they realize the previous doctor was eccentric but skilled. After Yuki's hospital ordeal, Carol is finally in a better mood. The four friends prepare for their first official mission together. Pecarine shows them a flyer she recently received, inviting them to travel to Taran village and assist in gathering spice ingredients. The job offers daily wages and a special bonus for the rare and valuable tegum seeds. While Carol initially objects to the idea of farm work, she agrees to join after some mild emotional blackmail from the others. The group sets out, enjoying a smooth and pleasant journey that feels like a fun group outing as they cross rivers and pass through lush forests. By evening, they decide to camp near a tranquil lake and begin searching for food. Determined to avoid eating insect fruit again, Carol spends the entire day stubbornly trying to catch fish. Despite her best efforts, she only manages to catch a small seashell and 2 tiny fish. Meanwhile, Kokoro happily explores the area and gathers insects. Seeing Carol's frustration, Kokoro gently offers to make frog and vegetable soup, suggesting that it's better to eat something than to sleep hungry, especially with the frogs Yuki caught. Fortunately, the group avoids this fate when an overly excited Pecarine returns to camp with several large wild birds she has successfully hunted. Using her restaurant experience, Pecarine skillfully prepares the meat, and the four friends enjoy an incredibly delicious meal together. For dessert, Pecarine brings some strange wild fruit she had gathered. Kokoro wisely hesitates before taking a bite, and her survival instincts kick in when she sees a nearby frog collapse after eating the same fruit. Her caution proves correct, as they discover the fruit's effect is extremely potent and intoxicating. Yuki, Pecarine, and Carol soon feel dizzy and begin acting foolishly and uncharacteristically. In their intoxicated state, an overly emotional Carol begins to cry and warmly embraces her usual rival, Kokoro. Eventually, the three of them collapse near the fire due to the intoxicating effects. Only Kokoro remains awake, calmly sipping tea and watching her sleeping friends, silently grateful for their company. The next morning, everyone wakes up and prepares for the day. Kokoro allows Yuki to go to the lake to wash his face, but he attracts trouble. His friends suddenly notice him returning to camp, firmly stuck in the mouth of a large, wolf-like monster. As the beast turns and runs into the dense forest with its prey, Yuki looks at them with vacant eyes. Suddenly, an unseen hunter's arrow strikes the beast. From the impact, Yuki is forcefully ejected from the monster's mouth, flying through the air and crashing directly into a sturdy tree trunk, losing consciousness. When Yuki finally opens his eyes, he finds himself in front of a small piece of wood with a ridiculous face drawn on it. Confused, he picks it up and shakes it. Immediately, a shy young girl jumps out from behind a nearby tree. Unable to make eye contact, she awkwardly introduces herself. She quickly clarifies that she is not strange. She simply uses a wooden puppet, which she calls Number 1, to practice conversation. Despite her magical ability to communicate with animals and plants, she has never had a human friend. Blaming her social anxiety, she has spent years talking to this puppet, preparing for the day she can form a real connection. Assuming Yuki is just as lonely and desperate for friendship since he is sitting alone in the forest, she excitedly declares that they should form a group of friends together. She turns to Number 1 and asks if the puppet has thought of a good group name. Yuki stands silently, wanting to slip away, but decides it is best to wait for his guild companions. Her idea of 2 lonely, isolated people is immediately shattered when Pecarine, Kokoro, Carol arrive to see Yuki. Suddenly embarrassed by the crowd, the shy girl greets them with extreme hesitation. Since she truly lives in Taran, she helps them find the rest of the way. Carol gently invites the girl to come with them, but the extremely shy girl prefers to walk safely behind the group. Pecarine points out how lucky they are to have a local guide. Upon reaching the village farm, a beautiful woman warmly welcomes the group and asks for their guild's name. Remembering they never officially decided on a name, Kokoro freezes, but Pecarine proudly introduces them as the Gourmet Guild, managing to save the situation. The woman introduces herself as Misato from the Forestier Guild. She mentions another girl named Hatsune, who is currently sleeping somewhere in the area. Misato then informs them that a teen from the Elizabeth Park Guild will soon arrive to assist with the harvest. Upon hearing this, Kokoro immediately recalls that Elizabeth Park is the guild where the strange helper who once saved her belongs. Meanwhile, the Elizabeth Park guild companions are traveling through the forest. One of them, who is often unwell, is eager to reach Taran village to meet her older sister Hatsune. While resting, they are suddenly attacked by strange black shadows that perfectly mimic their appearances and magical attacks. The team successfully defeats the doppelgangers, but their victory is short-lived when a cruel woman named Christina launches a devastating attack on them. Elsewhere, the Gourmet Guild spots Hatsune floating high in the air, deeply asleep. She continues to drift until she crashes and falls, but remains asleep. Pecarine wakes her up, and the group realizes that Hatsune possesses a rare power instead of ordinary magic. Unfortunately, she falls asleep wherever she uses it due to rapid energy depletion. Hatsune excitedly talks about her younger sister, explaining that she loves to stay up late reading despite her fragile health. Unaware of the danger her sister is currently facing, Hatsune mentions that she bought new books for her and is eager to meet her. Later, the Gourmet Guild rises quickly to harvest crops. Kokoro notes the quality of the soil and the fragrance of the spices. Their peaceful morning is disrupted when injured members of the Elizabeth Park group are brought to the village on stretchers. Barely conscious, one of them explains that they were attacked by doppelgangers and a cruel woman, and in the chaos, they lost Hatsune's sister. The villagers confirm that many people have seen the doppelgangers and report that the local innkeeper has been missing for several days. Realizing her sister is in grave danger, a desperate Hatsune wants to rush to save her. Masato persuades her to seek their assistance, and Yuki, Aoi, and the rest of the Gourmet Guild insist on joining the rescue mission. In the forest, Aoi senses a tense and ominous atmosphere. Hatsune flies above the trees to investigate, but suddenly something attacks her from afar. She narrowly avoids the worst of it, but her strength is drained in the process. She becomes frightened, suspecting that the attacker is her sister. However, her sister's complexion quickly shifts from gray to red as she falls fully under the control of the black shadows. She attacks Hatsune, forcing her to defend herself. The impact shakes the forest, and the rest of the group arrives to find Hatsune on her knees, crying over her transformed sister. Meanwhile, Carol isolates herself on a hill, feeling ashamed and distressed. She knows the shadows were sent by her boss and fears the village will be destroyed. Pecarine comes to check on her, but Carol hides her true thoughts. Suddenly, terrifying screams echo from the village below as demonic shadows begin attacking villagers. Pecarine rushes down to confront the monsters. Though Carol is initially unsure whether to help or not, she eventually joins Pecarine, and the two work together to eliminate the shadows. Back in the forest, Yuki, Kokoro, and the others pursue Hatsune's sister, but Christina intercepts them. One of the Elizabeth Park girls warns the others that this is the same woman who destroyed her guild. Christina easily identifies their weaknesses and launches a cruel attack. The group retaliates with full force, but it proves completely ineffective. Yuki tries to defend himself, but Kokoro has to create a barrier to protect him, and he loses consciousness from the intense pressure. While unconscious, Yuki dreams of meeting the goddess Ameth. Panicking, he pleads to return to reality to save his friends from the battle between life and death. Surprised by how quickly Yuki and Christina have reunited, Ameth explains that she cannot intervene directly. She instructs Yuki to awaken his hidden Princess Knight power to save them. Yuki miraculously awakens and immediately unleashes his power, greatly enhancing his friend's magical abilities. Empowered once again, the Elizabeth Park girl transforms into her human form, and the group bravely counterattacks. Though their enhanced strength remains insufficient to defeat Christina, Yuki's mysterious abilities intrigue her greatly. After enjoying the day's fun, Christina easily blocks Yuki's sword, kicks him away, and retreats. After Christina leaves, the group focuses on the transformed sister. Refusing to give up, Hatsune uses her power to enter her sister's mind. She encourages her sister, and together they expel the black shadows from her soul. The expelled shadows are then completely destroyed by a combined attack from Pecarine and Carol, who arrived just in time. With the threat neutralized, peace is restored to the village without further loss of life. After their recent successes, the Gourmet Guild completes several new missions and receives official recognition from the Guild Management Association. They spend their days working in the vast fields of Landisol, assisting local farmers with the wild birds and boars that attack their precious rice crops. As promised, they receive a portion of the region's renowned high-quality rice as payment. Meanwhile, Carol's master, the Queen, secretly summons her. Trembling with anxiety, Carol is forced to explain the recent chaos in Taran village. knowledge. She is then given an additional assignment to deeply spy on Yuki and Pecarine, reporting every detail of their actions. Returning to her friends, Carol contemplates this new directive and wonders why anyone would need to monitor such a foolish and silly group. Discussing their next move, Carol complains about only taking paid missions involving food and insists on finding a better assignment. Yuki notices a twisted request attached directly to the board, asking for a master. Taran dismisses it as a fake mission, and Carol leaves, considering it a complete waste of time. However, as she exits, 3 crying little girls block her path. The guild sits with them at a local eatery and learns that the children themselves posted the request. The girls excitedly explain that they need a master to teach them how to become true adventurers so they can improve everyone's quality of life. Their pure dedication frustrates the senior guild members, as the children display far more genuine passion for adventure than they do. Moved by their plea, Yuki agrees to become their master. Later, while resting on a hammock, Carol complains that she lacks the patience to become a master, and would have lost her temper long ago if the children weren't so polite. To ensure the children's safety, the guild devises a fake treasure hunt. They create a safe path, marking hidden treasures with an X, and assign Yuki the responsibility of guiding the girls. Pecarine spends the entire night preparing supplies and crafting a special outfit for a monster for the event. The next morning, the girls send Yuki and the children on their way, but sensing an indescribable anxiety, they decide to secretly follow the group. Assuming Yuki will keep the children safe proves to be a huge mistake. Despite the compass pointing north, Yuki misreads the map and leads the children in the completely wrong direction, taking them deep into a dangerous, spider-infested forest. Observing from behind the trees, the older girls desperately try to signal Yuki to turn back. Unfortunately, he misinterprets their warnings and confidently leads the children further into the perilous forest. Realizing the safe path has gone awry, Pecarine decides to intervene. She leaps out, wearing her homemade monster costume to scare the children back onto the correct path. Unexpectedly, the confident little girls team up and quickly defeat the costume Pecarine. As this unfolds, Kokoro and Carol are forced to perform exhausting work behind the scenes, and they unknowingly stop and defeat the real wild monsters to keep the children safe. As Carol and Kokoro clear the path, Yuki falls into the mouth of a giant monster bird. It quickly abducts him and carries him into the sky. This large bird is the true culprit behind the destruction of the farmers' rice crops. Unfazed by the terrifying sight, the 3 little girls bravely decide to follow the creature to save their master. The older girls immediately run toward the bird's nest. Inside, Kokoro finds an unconscious Yuki lying near a strange Amnesiac scarecrow Pecarine had made for the rice fields. Before they can formulate a plan, the large bird attacks. Kokoro urges Carol to use her magic, but Carol is completely exhausted. After secretly fighting monsters on an empty stomach all day, her magical energy is completely depleted. Kokoro is in the exact same exhausted state. Pecarine, still trapped inside her monster costume, tries to fight but is brutally struck by the bird. The rest watch in horror as the creature tears the costume apart, but they soon realize Pecarine is completely unharmed. They find some food in the little girl's bag, and after eating it, Pecarine regains her full strength. She steps out of the torn costume and easily defeats the large bird, saving everyone. The 3 little girls finally arrive and see the defeated bird, naturally assuming they were the ones who brought it down. One of the curious girls suspects that all the monsters they encountered along the way were just the older girls acting, and she believes that Yuki only pretended to be abducted as a final test. Refusing to admit his incompetence, Yuki confidently gives a thumbs up as if it were all part of his grand plan. As a reward for completing the farmer's request, the farmers gift the guild high-quality rice. Pecarine uses it to prepare a magnificent feast for everyone. The day ends peacefully, with the 3 little girls happily playing in the fields, having been playfully adopted by a flock of ostrich chicks who mistake them for their mothers. In the bustling city of Landisol, Kokoro buys shoes and receives 4 lottery tickets, which she thinks will look great on Yuki. On the final spin of the wheel, she wins the grand prize, a trip to the beach. Despite Carol's initial disinterest, the Gourmet Guild packs for the vacation. That evening, a panicked Kokoro approaches the sleeping Yuki. Having grown up isolated in the mountains, she has never worn a swimsuit and now seeks his approval to know if she looks good in it. If he doesn't approve, she won't wear it. Relieved, she mentions she even tried borrowing a swimming boat from the library. In the quiet night, they innocently practice swimming moves on the floor. The next day brings perfect weather at the beach. While everyone is excited, Carol shyly stays away, avoiding water entirely. Pecarine and Yuki happily splash water at each other. As usual, Yuki gets water on his face and is surprised to find it salty. Kokoro gently explains that he must keep his eyes closed to avoid irritation. Once he understands this trick, Yuki joins in the water fight. Pecarine then approaches Carol and learns the cat girl cannot swim. To fix this, Pecarine pushes the terrified Carol onto a rubber float floaty, pretending it's a sea voyage. Back on shore, Pecarine is visibly exhausted, surprising Kokoro, who has never seen her tire so quickly. Pecarine decides to reveal a major secret. The armor she usually wears gives her immense strength, restores her energy, and protects her from pain and cold. However, the downside is that it makes her extremely hungry, and sometimes she even loses consciousness. Without it, she is just an ordinary girl. A surprised Carol asks why she would reveal such a critical weakness, and Pecarine warmly replies that she considers them trustworthy friends, a statement that fills Carol with intense guilt over her secret mission. Suddenly, their attention is drawn once again to a flustered maid named Suzume, who is struggling to control her donkey cart on the beach road. The group rushes to save her, and they learn that her boss, Taran, has recently opened a seasonal food stall nearby. The Gourmet Guild happily approaches their big sister and enjoys some food. However, Carol notices that despite serving excellent food, the restaurant is nearly empty. Taran explains that a rival stall, run by Aino, the leader of the Mercurius Foundation, has stolen all her customers. Carol questions the appeal of serving hot barbecue in the summer. Just then, Aino arrives and calls Carol a novice for not understanding that people crave warm, energy-rich food after swimming in cold water. Aino challenges Taran and offers her a position as a business partner. Aino's companion, Mafuyu, interrupts and admits that despite Aino's arrogant tone, she truly respects Taran's abilities, which Taran acknowledges as they are childhood friends. However, Carol becomes furious at being repeatedly called a novice and takes the situation personally. She declares that the Gourmet Guild will help Taran create a unique menu to bring her customers back. While the Gourmet Guild searches for fresh ingredients, two employees of Mercurius Foundation take a break. One eats takoyaki while the other, a blonde girl named Yukari, drinks alone to forget her sorrows and becomes heavily intoxicated. Tired of her friend's drunken rambling, the companion throws Yukari into the sea to sober up, unaware that swimming is strictly prohibited in the area due to large squid monsters. Moments later, the water rises, a terrifying scream echoes on the beach, and a giant squid captures Yukari. The drunken girl remains completely unaware of the danger, happily enjoying the violent shaking as if it were a fun ride. Hearing the commotion while fishing, the Gourmet Guild immediately arrives. Pecarine doesn't hesitate for a moment. Even without her strength-enhancing armor, she bravely uses her sword and crown to fight. With Carol's magical assistance, they drag the large creature to the ground, where Pecarine single-handedly uses her arm strength to finish it off, saving Yukari. This victory not only saves the drunken employee, but also provides Taran with a magnificent, rare ingredient in the form of a giant squid. With her customers returning, Taran happily agrees to become an equal business partner with Aino. To celebrate the truce and thank her friends for the wonderful journey, Carol uses her magic to grant the group the ability to breathe underwater. The episode ends peacefully as the Gourmet Guild dives into the sea to explore the beautiful, pristine world on the ocean floor. After enjoying their recent beach vacation, Yuki and Kokoro head to a local restaurant to get fresh seafood, while Carol is at home and Pecarine has gone shopping. As they open the door, they are met with a strange and chaotic scene. Two regular customers are nearly begging for service, while the exhausted owner sits on the floor, clutching his knees and repeatedly expressing his desire for pudding. Yuki looks up at the ceiling and sees a figure completely invisible to others. Moments later, Shinobu, the city's fortune teller, arrives to investigate the owner's strange symptoms. She confirms that a ghost named Mako is tormenting him, driving him mad by forcing him to make pudding constantly. Upon learning that Yuki possesses the rare ability to see supernatural beings, Shinobu invites him and Kokoro to join her guild. Upon arriving at the dark, eerie guild house, Kokoro and Yuki quickly realize they should not have followed a stranger so easily. A weapon suddenly falls from above, startling them, and two trembling little girls complain that Shinobu brought outsiders into their refuge. The girls explain that their ultimate goal is to revive a legendary vampire. As Yuki and Kokoro try to sneak away, a swarm of bats blocks their path, forcing them to venture further inside. In the center of a dimly lit room sits a large ice crystal coffin. From within, Ilya emerges, the terrifying queen of the night and supreme leader of the vampires. However, as she steps out of the ice, her terrifying aura completely dissipates, and she physically shrinks into a small, cute girl. Shinobu explains that Ilya once waged war against gods, humans, elves, and beast folk, but ultimately lost and was imprisoned. Since her resurrection is incomplete, she lacks sufficient mana and is stuck in this small form. Hoping Yuki might help her regain her strength, Ilya places her hand on his chest to check him. Unfortunately, because her current magic is very weak, her own subordinate bats rebel and launch a fierce attack against her. Seeing the little queen injured, Yuki bravely grabs her to save her and run away. This intense moment unknowingly awakens his latent powers, causing a massive energy blast that strikes Ilya directly. The wave temporarily restores her to her adult form and terrifying true strength, allowing her to dominate the room with a fearsome aura. However, This magnificent moment is fleeting, and she quickly reverts to a child. Hoping to use this distraction, Yuki and Kokoro attempt to sneak out, but accidentally drop and ruin Mako's puddings. The furious ghost completely blocks their path and threatens to curse them for destroying her favorite treats. After that day, Carol quietly waits at the Gourmet Guild house. Her peace is shattered when Yuki and Kokoro return with Shinobu and the pudding-loving ghost. Under the intense threat of Mako's curses, Carol, Kokoro, and Yuki are forced into the kitchen to make the perfect pudding. This proves a significant challenge, as none of them have any cooking skills, and Pecarine, the only one who knows how to cook, is wandering the market. While wandering, Pecarine encounters the same restaurant customers who are happily celebrating their sudden release from the ghostly possession. Their celebration abruptly ends when one of them is slapped on the back by his mother, which lightens the mood. Back at the guild house, the novice chefs work haphazardly with bowls and ingredients, completely failing at this difficult cooking challenge. When Pecarine finally returns home, she is met with a horrifying sight. Her friends have magically transformed into real puddings and are helplessly lying on the dining table, while Mako holds a spoon, ready to eat them. Pecarine quickly sets a condition and promises to make the world's best dessert if the ghost agrees to return everyone to their original forms. Pecarine swiftly prepares a magnificent pudding with perfect texture. As Mako takes her first spoonful, the taste is so satisfying that she feels as if she is going to heaven. The little ghost's soul begins to peacefully ascend to the afterlife. However, just as Mako is about to leave, Pecarine gleefully reveals her shocking secret ingredient. Shocked and deeply offended by this revelation, Mako panics and falls back to the ground, where she loses consciousness. Shinobu apologizes for all the chaos caused by her guild and carries the unconscious ghost back home. With the spell broken, the others return to their human forms. The episode ends with the girls frantically searching the house for Yuki, who has been missing since the pudding was made. The next morning, Carol tries to sleep in, but her rest is abruptly interrupted when a frantic Pecarine breaks directly through the bedroom window. An angry Carol scolds Pecarine for her carelessness, especially since her favorite teddy bear has been torn apart in the chaos. To fix the situation, Kokoro suggests they visit the town market to find the proper fabric and thread to repair the toy. While Carol pauses to clean the house, the other three head to the bustling market and split up to speed up their search. As Yuki searches alone, he senses a dark energy and spots a town resident being attacked by a shadow creature. He draws his sword to help, but is quickly overwhelmed by the dark power. Suddenly, a girl named Shizuru emerges from the alley and easily defeats the shadow, saving him. She immediately acts like an old friend, claiming to be his older sister and saying she missed him. Yuki is surprised and confused. The reunion ends abruptly when a short girl named Rino pulls Shizuru into a nearby alley. Hiding, Rino scolds Shizuru, reminding her that their mission was only to observe Yuki from a distance while dealing with the shadow creatures appearing in Landis. Shizuru apologizes, admitting she couldn't control herself after seeing him. Rino complains that she also wants to speak with her brother, but Shizuru quickly cuts her off. The two girls then return to their mission. Meanwhile, Kokoro's search proves fruitless. After spotting a familiar-looking insect, she follows it into an alley but loses her way. When they reunite, Kokoro, Pecarine, and Yuki realize that none of them found the correct materials. They decide to split up again. Back at the guild house, Carol finishes cleaning. Following her master's orders, she heads to the palace to deliver a personal report. On the way, she happily picks a bouquet of wildflowers as a gift. Upon arriving at the palace, she finds the throne room empty. A voice calls her downstairs, and she is horrified to see a dark figure in a lower chamber working with a shadow creature and changing its power. As the newly changed shadow creature passes by Carol, her wildflowers wither and die instantly. Shaking with fear, Carol becomes even more distressed when she is told not to bring such things there. Back in the city, Yuki and Kokoro find a bakery. As Yuki eats something sweet, Kokoro heads to a nearby fountain to wash a stained handkerchief. An arrow suddenly strikes a branch right in front of her with a warning message. Rino appears and accuses Kokoro of being too close to her brother. Kokoro politely introduces herself as Yuki's assistant, sent by Lady Ameth. Shizuru arrives to assess the situation and apologizes to Kokoro for Rino's words. Kokoro asks if she truly knew Yuki before he lost his memory. But before they can answer, they realize Yuki has disappeared, leaving only half-eaten sweet behind. Fearing he has been abducted by shadow creatures, Kokoro rushes to inform Pecarine. As she approaches, she hears two men discussing an abduction and taking someone to a location, so she heads there. Pecarine breaks down the door to the hiding spot, only to find the abducted person is thief Charlie, not Yuki. Charlie had been talking to a gang leader's girlfriend and was caught, but upon seeing Pecarine, the frightened leader immediately forgives Charlie and lets everyone go. Meanwhile, Shizuru and Rino search the city streets, fighting several shadow creatures but finding no sign of Yuki. Yuki. Frustrated by their halted search, Kokoro and Pecarine head to the guild association to post a missing person notice. The guild manager, Karen, informs them that Yuki had just been there. At that moment, Yuki returns, covered in dirt but holding a rare 7-colored rainbow silkworm. It turns out that while eating his sweet, Yuki spotted Eriko shopping. Frightened, he panicked and ran without looking back. During his escape, he found a quest board asking for rainbow silkworms. Believing it to be the perfect material to repair Carol's teddy bear, he completed the mission all by himself. Watching from a distance, Shizuru and Rino are satisfied to see that his nature hasn't changed, and they quietly leave. As evening falls, Carol heads home alone, and she's thinking about the new shadows and her master's intentions. She stops at the door and takes a deep breath to calm her anxiety. She opens the door, expecting the house to be dark, and the strain of the day overwhelms her. Pecarine is distressed by a nightmare in which her parents fail to recognize her. The next morning at breakfast, Carol immediately senses something is off with the food. Their meal lacks the usual special touch and is far too plain. Pecarine explains that when she visited the market earlier, the stalls were nearly empty. Local merchants report that a giant monster has taken over the city's main bridge, completely blocking all trade routes and halting the local economy. Citizens are anxiously awaiting royal guards sent by the Landesal government, but no action has been taken yet. Tossing a high-level and extremely dangerous mission paper from the board, Pecarine declares that she is prepared to face a mission equivalent to a death sentence. Despite Carol's verbal opposition to such a dangerous task, the rest of the group agrees to accept the challenge, treating it like a fun adventure. Pecarine outlines the strategy. Their primary goal is to lure the monster away from the bridge to prevent structural collapse during the battle. To achieve this, someone must serve as bait. Assuming Carol would never allow Kokoro or Yuki to face such danger, Pecarine initially plans to proceed alone, relying on her extremely powerful armor. However, to her frustration, Carol is included in the final plan as the bait. Despite her disappointment over Pecarine's careless thoughts, the plan works perfectly. Carol successfully lures the giant monster away from the bridge, straight toward the rest of the group. The creature becomes trapped in a simple rope trap laid across its path. As it loses balance and crashes to the ground, Pecarine charges forward with all her strength. She delivers a decisive Princess Strike blow that instantly defeats the creature, securing their victory. With the bridge cleared and trade routes reopened, the city returns to normal. The group's reputation soars, and they receive praise and respect from the entire town. Pleased by the attention, Pecarine and the group finally breathe a sigh of relief. To celebrate the restored peace, Kokoro takes the group to the food stall, where she and Yuki had their first meal in Landesal. To everyone's surprise, Shizuru and Rino greet them. The actual owner, whose fate is intertwined with Yuki's, had entrusted the shop to these sisters due to other commitments. The reunion is pleasant, and with her usual hospitality, Shizuru invites the gourmet guild to eat for free. As always, Pecarine steals the spotlight, consuming enough food to collapse the shop, but the sisters stand firm against her insatiable appetite. Later that night, Yuki's sleep is disturbed by troubling memories. He dreams of a nightmare where he helplessly watches his party suffer a brutal defeat in battle. Amid the dream, the goddess Ameth appears. She tries to calm him, explaining that what he sees exists in an indistinct realm. It is both reality and dream, representing a potential past or future. Though this is confusing for someone who has already lost his memory, Ameth emphasizes her trust in him, declaring that there is no choice but to move forward. Before vanishing, she makes a clear promise that they will meet again. When Yuki awakens, he is still confused, but something deep within him has changed. With a newfound determination, he asks Pecarine to teach him how to wield a sword. His entire demeanor is different. He no longer smiles or responds to Carol's usual teasing. Instead, he appears focused and far more serious than before. The next day, Kokoro, Yuki, and Pecarine have lunch at a local restaurant. Since Carol hasn't joined them yet, they order an extra portion for her. The conversation turns to the kingdom's princess, though Pecarine remains unusually quiet, focusing solely on her food. Meanwhile, Carol is feeding stray cats when she encounters the thief brothers, Charlie and Akaki. Suddenly, a large creature emerges from the shadows. It is the same masked monster Carol saw at her master's palace, but after consuming many humans, it has become a powerful giant monster. This chaos captures Pecarine's attention. Arriving at the scene, she sees the monster attacking civilians. She immediately strikes, severing one of its arms. But to everyone's horror, the arm nearly instantly regenerates, enraging the shadow further. Watching from hiding, Carol can no longer stay back and joins the battle to support Pecarine. The fight intensifies. Pecarine manages to slice the monster in two, but it quickly regenerates and retaliates with a destructive spell that collapses an entire wall, nearly crushing Carol. In an instant, Pecarine shields Carol with her body and, for extra protection, gives her shoulder guards. Smiling, Pecarine turns back to the battle. The shadow launches a massive attack that obliterates everything. As the dust clears, a huge part of the monster monster has been blown away, but Pecarine collapses on the ground, drained of strength. Carol is devastated, crying and feeling intense guilt that Pecarine keeps risking her life to save her. Yuki and Kokoro arrive just as the monster begins to heal again. Kokoro rushes to help Pecarine, while Yuki tries to use his power. However, at that moment, terrifying memories of his previous defeat begin to haunt him. The sight of his fallen friends leaves him aimless and weak. As the shadow advances to strike him down, massive stone walls erupt from the ground, shielding him. When Yuki recovers, he finds himself alone. At the same time, Kokoro finds herself in a spiritual place resembling the Landasol Palace. She discovers a royal portrait of Pecarine with her parents, with the local food stall owner, La Barista, who reveals her true identity. She reveals that her shop was a front, and she has been secretly monitoring him since he fell into this world. She knows that the goddess Ameth is slowly trying to restore his memories, but warns Yuki that his memories contain the power to save the world or end his existence. She explains that monsters and shadows are drawn to his powerful soul, and that this is the result of a battle between him and a malevolent will across the entire world. Pecarine then reveals the truth. Her real name is Justiana von Estrella, the true and lost princess of Landasol. Her parents sent her on a journey to understand people and become wise as a ruler. However, when she returned, another young woman was being treated as the true Princess Justiana. No one in the kingdom, not even her parents, recognized Pecarine. Overcome by fear and despair, she fled and wandered the world until she met the Gourmet Guild. Pecarine explains that she remains so attached because she fears her new friends will forget her too. Kokoro hugs her and promises that she will always be her true strength. Hearing this revelation, Carol feels guilty and leaves, intending to fight the monster alone. Returning to Landasol, the royal knights arrive at the devastated battlefield, and the citizens mock them for always arriving late. The vice captain, Christina, eyes the fact that a giant monster entered the capital without the royal guards noticing with suspicion, and questions why a beast is sitting on the human throne at that moment. Meanwhile, Carol confronts the monster and doubts her master's loyalty. Pecarine rushes to save her, admitting that she may be selfish, but she wants Carol to fight alongside her. Calling her a fool, Carol agrees tearfully. La Barista tells Yuki that her companions will protect his friends, and Shizuru and Reno offer to help. However, Yuki refuses to trust others, and he fully understands what he must protect. He tells La Barista to teleport him back into the fight. Materializing in the air directly in front of the monster, Yuki draws his sword and unleashes his Princess Knight power. His energy amplifies his friend's strength, clearing the path ahead. With this unity, Kokoro provides support, while Pecarine and Carol launch a combined attack. Yuki strikes directly at the heart of the shadow, causing the monster to completely dissipate into smoke and vanish. Instantly, the group is safely teleported back to a Landasol restaurant. Their return calms the distressed citizens and their friends. Pecarine tearfully embraces her friends, and for the first time, Carol genuinely returns the gesture. While the issue with the fraudulent queen is not yet resolved, the bonds within the Gourmet Guild are stronger than ever, and they are ready to face the future.